back to the MMA Insiders on ESPN Radio 1100 and 98.9 FM.
We roll on the MMA Insiders on a Friday night. We do it every Friday night here on ESPN Radio 1100, 98.9 FM. Hanging out down at the Cosmopolitan. We were doing the back end of the Warren Moon Dream Bowl. Kevin IOLE and Frank Trigg are in studio. A lot to get to. We'll make picks and a breakdown of the UFC on Versus 4 card that's coming up on Sunday. There's a card tonight. We'll get into that a little bit. A couple of fights of note on the Strikeforce Challengers card. And also, if you want, because I'm going to do it actually after this, if you're down at the Cosmopolitan, take a walk across the street and go visit our friends at the Las Vegas Fight Shop. They're helping us bring the show each week to you guys. They have the majority, or the most of, the UFC 132 walkout T-shirts are in stock, and they've also got 2 signings coming up next week with UFC 132 in town. Ariane Celeste on Thursday, 6 to 8. Exactly. And 6 to 8 after the weigh-ins for UFC 132 at the Miracle Mile location of the Las Vegas Fight Shop will be Punk Ass from Tap Out, Jake Shields, and Melvin Gillard, who we talked about a little earlier. Tito Ortiz will be busy. This is a make-or-break fight. Or am I wrong on that, Frank, right?
No, make or break. It's make or break.
Yeah.
He begged to get this fight. You know, he was on hands and knees, I guess, and with Dane and Lorenzo trying to please put him back in for one more. You know, he still has something to prove. Make or break right here.
Kevin, do you believe that he actually had a beg? They were cutting him?
Yes. No, he was cut at UFC 121. That he was cut. And I think he talked his way. You know, Tito is great about, you know, when you talk to Tito, he's great about giving you the excuses of what happened and all the things that were, you know, that went on. And, you know, I saw a video of him the other day, and he was talking about the injuries that he had, and then he was talking about he almost submitted this guy and almost knocked out that guy and this, that, and the other thing. But, you know, I'm looking at his record now, and in his last 5 fights, he's 0-4-1. He had 2 wins in 2006 over Ken Shamrock, who was 5 years over the hill in 2006. So, you know, they don't really count as a class, victory. So you have to either go back to his win at UFC. This is how long it's been since Tito's been relevant. UFC 59 when he beat Forrest Griffin, or UFC 51, and that's the one I'm going to go back to, when he beat Vitor Belfort. And the reason I say that is it was a good win over Forrest Griffin. Forrest obviously would go on not too long after that to win the light heavyweight title. But my point, Steve, is Forrest was still a guy just coming off the Ultimate Fighter, wasn't the guy that he is now and that would become. And that was a very close fight that could have gone either way. Forrest believes he won that fight. So really, if you say, when's the last time he beat a guy at the top of his game who would have been considered a title contender, you had to go back to UFC 51 and Vitor Belfort. The excuses for Tito Ortiz are done. He either beats Ryan Bader or he loses his job.
Looking at his heyday, and I know he's older now, he's 36. Does it get you thinking a little bit that maybe he was never that good, and what happened was the evolution of the athlete? They're just better athletes now, because he just looks sluggish. And when you think about Tito's game at his peak, it was based on kind of power and good technique in terms of getting guys down and keeping them down. But maybe he just doesn't have it athletically to make the transition to the new guys.
That age group that I'm a part of. Yeah, they never really adapted. Most of the guys never really adjusted to, like, you look at like Matt Hughes. He never really adjusted off his style of what he had. Great athlete, amazingly strong, but never really adapted. Take a guy like George St. Pierre. He came in the generation after us. He adapted. He's changed his style from the very first time that he fought. You've seen an adaptation with St. Pierre. We've seen adaptation with Anderson Silva, who's also older, but has made the adaptation throughout his process. Some guys just don't adapt. Tito's one of the guys who just never adapted. He never changed his style, improved on his weak spots. He's kind of still the same guy that he was. And honestly, if you don't adapt in this sport, every 6 months it's a brand new game. Like, it's completely changed. John Jones 6 months ago was kind of, a guy we know, but not really the guy. Now all of a sudden he's the guy, and he's changing how people are doing spinning back elbows and changing how people are catching legs and doing all this stuff. And that's really what's happened with our sport. And Tito just never caught up with that.
Kevin, am I unfairly dumping on Tito?
Well, I think to a certain degree. I think a lot of what Frank said I agree with. But, when you look back into his career, he beat guys that would go on to have a good career after Tito beat him. Vanderlei Silva, for instance. Tito won the belt by beating Vanderlei Silva, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. That was, UFC 25. That was April of 2000. It's 11 plus years, and that grinds on your body after that time. And I just think physically he wore down as much as anything, and I don't think he had that explosion that he had. There was one point, when he would go to take you down. I mean, he fired into you, and when he took you down, and you were taken down hard. I think with as good as the athletes are today, you have to have that that kind of level, and I just don't think he has it anymore after all the beatings he's taken over the years.
Hell, he knocked out Evan Tanner on a slam.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how strong the guy was. But you got to, it's like we're seeing a lot of the wrestlers. If you can't get your hands on an opponent, then you're sitting duck to get punched, and you kind of look foolish going for the takedown.
Well, let's not forget too that Tito lost all of his explosion after his back surgery.
Okay,
yeah,
that took all of his explosion out the window, and that's what I'm talking about adaptation. When
adaptation. Now, a Texas guy would not be saying adaption.
I'm not from Texas, so it's okay.
Here we go.
When my shoulder went bad, I had to adapt on which way I was going to move. When my knee went bad, I had to adapt on which way I was going to move on the ground and how things were going to position. Tito never adapted his style off of his back injury, and that's part of the problem is that he didn't develop another way to get guys out on the ground without that explosive power.
Well, apparently go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, I was going to say, Steve, that the one thing with Tito was he had the ground and pound. Take you down and get on top and just pound you. He actually did have some jiu-jitsu that we rarely saw from him. We did see it at the end of the Machida fight, but throughout his career, he didn't really make a point of doing that. And I think maybe had he worked on that, he would have become a more versatile fighter.
He's incredibly athletic. He could have anything he puts his mind to, he could have done. So if he chose to sit down and go, look, I got to learn some jits for jits' sake because my back is bad. I got to learn how to do a different single leg takedown or a different arm drag to get a guy to the ground because I can't be as explosive. He could have learned it and accelerated and still been one of the top guys today because he has that style where he's not going to get smashed around so much if he was back in that game. In his old days, he didn't get really hit that much. Now he's getting hit a lot more because he can't take a guy down, like you said earlier.
Well, the public and the books are onto it. Ryan Bader is anywhere from 4.5 to 1 to minus 500 over a legend of MMA.
As he should be at this point. I mean, as of right now, for what Tito's record is, he's 0-4-1 his last 5 fights. He should be. Bader should be the favorite in this fight.
Any chance of an upset, Kevin?
I just don't see it. I actually think Bader's going to stop him. I think what's going to happen is Bader's going to land a big right hand. Tito's going to go down, and Bader's going to get on top and blast him. Because I just don't see, Tito being able to take Bader down. And I think Bader's the bigger, stronger guy with the better right hand. And I think Bader's going to fire that home run. The punch that he landed against Keith Jardine, I think that punch will land against Tito, and he'll finish him on the ground. And Tito will say goodbye to the wide world of mixed martial arts.
He says goodbye to MMA. You think it's not just the UFC? You think he retires?
Where's he going to go? I mean, Tito Ortiz is not a guy that's going to fight in the MFC. He's been at the very top. He's fought the best guys out there. There's some guys that'll fight in the MFC, but I just don't see Tito Ortiz being one of those.
Well, let's not forget what's Tito's pay at this point. I mean, whatever it is, MFC's not going to get that. Titan can't get that. Legacy Fighting Championships can't pay that. Shark Fights can't pay that. So no one can't even pay half that.
Right.
So he's going to have to take a 75% pay cut to continue fighting. He's got a wife. He's got a high maintenance wife or high maintenance girlfriend. He's got he's got 3 kids he's got to worry about. He's got his Bentley and trying to put bail money up for other people. He can't be out there fighting for $20,000. Guys, he can't do it. So he's going to have to say goodbye to the sport if he loses.